Okay, everybody. This is statistics assignment 1E. This should be after you have taken the test. So this should be your first assignment after test 1. Okay, what I'm going to be showing you now is assignments that I think we've already done these assignment. Like I forget which exact assignment this is. I think this is assignment like 1 or 2 or something like that. But what I am going to be showing you now is how can I use my calculator to help me come up with these answers. Some of you may already know how to do this, some of you may not. And so what I want to do is kind of just teach you a way to do this. All right. So we know that X and Y are number sets. So for instance, X is 4, 1, 4, 7, and 5. Y is 1, 8, 2, 1, and 7. So when I see like a number X, like in number 1, it's not representative of a singular number. X is not a singular number. X is a whole bunch of different numbers. So how can I recognize an X or something in my calculator that recognizes this as a list of numbers and not just a singular number? All right, and so where you want to be looking is right here. What we want to do is we want to go to the menu, and that brings up a screen that looks like this. Your calculator might just be a little bit different than mine, but it's still relatively the same. Okay, what I want to do is go over to this second screen, the stats screen. So we are going to enter the stats. Now, in your calculator, there may be various numbers and stuff that are in a list right now. Okay, there might be numbers from a previous user. All right, so I want to first make sure all of these lists are blank. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to go to this next screen, so that's an F6, and I want to delete all, so F4. It's asking, are you sure? Yes. And so what you do is you arrow and you delete all if there's stuff in these lists. So make sure you have clear lists. All right. Then once you have all clear lists, what I want to do is I want to go back to list 1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make list 1 all of my X's. So the very first number, again, don't mess up the order of these numbers. Just enter them in the order. So the first number is 4. So I hit 4. And then you have to hit enter to actually physically enter it. So 4, enter. 1, enter. 4, 7, 5. And so don't add extra numbers and things like that. And you have your list of numbers. Okay, now what I want to do is go over to list 2 and do the same process, but for the Y's. Outstanding. So I have my list 1 being X's and list 2 being the Y's. Okay, now what I want to do is go back to the normal calculator screen. So that again is under the menu, and I want to go to the run mat screen. That's where your regular old calculator is. Okay, again, your calculator has different options than mine, but it's 95% of the same type of calculator. Okay, now what we have here in our calculator right now are 2 lists. List 1 being the X's, list 2 being the Y's. All right, so how do I bring those back into my calculator? That's my next basic question. Well, as I said, list 1 and list 2. So if you look at your calculator, notice the word written in gold above the number 1. It's the word list. All right, so I can hit shift, and that opens up all of this gold writing, and I want to hit in list. What list do I want to bring in? I can bring in list 1. Now here I'm going to hit enter. It's going to look different than your calculator. Your calculator will list out the numbers horizontally. mine opens up a brand new screen. However, the answer is still the same. Horizontally, you should see 4, 1, 4, 7, and 5. Okay? Now, what your calculator allows you to do is it allows you to do arithmetic to this. Say I wanted to add 1 to all of the numbers of x, which would give me 5, 2, 5, 8, and 6. Let's say I just wanted to do that for some weird reason. Well, that's fine. All you want to do is you want to take your x, which is list 1, and then add 1 to all of those numbers. And then notice what you can do. So you can do arithmetic to a list. Ooh, shoot. You can do arithmetic to a list. Gosh darn it. There we go. All right. And that's exactly what you need to be doing in summations. So for instance, if I were to just use what I know right now for number 1, that's just x. So that would be 4, 1, 4, 7, and 5. For number 2, that would be x times y. So in calculator speak, x times y. And what that will do is that will take the numbers of x and they'll multiply the individual numbers by y. Just knowing what I know, these answers should be 4, 8, 8, 7, and 35. Again, that is the individual x times the individual y. So that was 4 times 1, that was 1 times 8, 4 times 2, 7 times 1, and 5 times 7. So let's use our calculator to come up with those results. So that would be x times y. Hooray! So I can use my calculator to be coming up with these individual results. So this was the sum of x squared, so that's 4, 8, 8, 7, and 35. The next one is y squareds. So that's y, which is list 2, squared. 1, 64, 4, 1, and 49. Okay, so that is kind of getting us going. That kind of gets us down the road. Again, what I did to create all of this, I'll run through it one more time here, is I go to this menu, I go to this stat screen, and what I do is I enter the x's into list 1 and the y's into list 2. Again, if there is junk in your calculator that you don't want there, what you can do is you can arrow over, F6, delete all, which is F4, and then say F1, yes, I want to delete it all. And then you can make your lists whatever you need them to be. Okay, so I have my X's in list 1 and Y's into list 2. Where I physically and actually do my math is under the regular calculator, so I go back to my menu and I go to the 1 option, the Run Mat. And then what I do is I hit Shift, List, which is right above the 1, and then I can bring in my X list or Y list. Again, your answers should be displayed horizontally, not how my my calculator brings up a vertical new screen. But you can do arithmetic, like X times 3, or whatever you want to do. Okay, and so that's all the x's times 3, or whatever you need to do. So for instance, in number 2, where we had to take x times y, that was x times y. All right, so now that we know how to get those like inside numbers, like we know how to get x and x squared and y squared and x times y and whatever we need to do, that's fine. The next thing that we want to do is, for instance, to complete number 1, we have to sum this. which again means we have to add that all up. Now, yes, you can go 4, 1, 4, 7, and 5. You can do that. Okay, you can absolutely do that. However, your calculator can do that as well. And so here is where you need to be looking to take these summations. Okay, the sigma is a sum. All right, so this is where it gets a little bit more tricky and a little bit more complicated. You have to use your calculator a little bit better than the average person. All right, what we want to get to is this catalog that is written in gold above the number 4. So I hit Shift 4, and that brings up a catalog. Now, in this catalog, it is all the fun little tools that your calculator has. All right, so if I hit, whatever these things are, it has a purpose in your calculator. So it's like neat little things that your calculator does. All right, what I'm looking for in this list is the word sum. Okay, it's the word sum. That's what I want to be looking for. And so I want to look under the letter S. Okay, kind of jumping forward here a little bit. Notice how it's SU, sum. So it, like, of the letter S's, it's kind of towards the bottom of the letter S's, and it's kind of more towards the letter T than it is the letter S. So instead of jumping to the letter S, I'm going to jump to the letter T. Now some of you are asking, well, what do you mean jump to a letter? Okay, you'll notice written in red on all of these, or most of these buttons, you have some sort of letter. This allows you to jump. Now, you don't have to hit alpha to get to these things, but I'm going to jump to the letter T. All right, and so all I do is hit the divide button, which is the letter T, and now that puts me at the beginning of the T's. Like if you wanted to jump to the letter S, you could hit the letter S. So you want to jump to the letter O, you can jump to the letter O. But I want the word sum, and so I'm going to jump to the letter T and then go back a couple. All right, now, some of you people might find this symbol in your calculator somewhere. And you're like, yeah, that's exactly what I want. It is not what you want. I repeat, that is not what you want. You want the word sum. You want the word sum. All right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my calculator and I'm going to go to the word sum. That's the same thing as sigma. Now, what do I want to sum in this situation? I want to sum x, which is, in other words, list 1. I add parentheses around what I want to sum. They don't automatically add parentheses. I physically do it. It's just good programming. So I'm going to sum list 1. I'm going to sum list 1. That is the sum of x. That comes out to be 21. So writing in calculator speak number 2, I have the sum, open parentheses, x, which is list 1, y, which is list 2, close. So that will be the sum of x, y. So the sum, catalog, T, up a couple. I think your calculators, if that was the last thing that you hit out of the calculator, I think it automatically jumps to that. But for some reason, you open up your thing and it's, somewhere rando. You can go to the letter T and then you can go up and then you can find the word sum. Okay, so I have the sum of, open parentheses, x, y. The sum of x, y. Number 3, the sum of y squared. So the sum of y squared. Notice how the square is on the inside of that parentheses. All right. The next one is the sum of y squared. So the sum of y squared. I'm not sure. Hold on. Yeah, okay. So be careful on this one. So the sum of y, I'll do that bit first. So the sum of y squared. The sum of y squared. So again, I'm writing out what you would put in your calculator. So number 5 would be the sum of y, or excuse me, x plus y. The sum of x plus y. Okay, x sub 3, that is the third number of x. The third number x was literally the number 4. And then I have the sum of x squared. So that's x sub 3 times the sum of x squared. Seven is the sum of xy. Sum of x. And then thus that's 62 divided by 21. X sub 2, y sub 3. So the inside is 1 divided by 2. And then what I do is I square root that answer. Okay, you may have been seeing me bringing in the answer, the quote-unquote answer, into my calculator. So how can I do that? And the reason that I do that, okay? So here's what I do. I'll just kind of explain it real quick. So in number 8, I have 1 divided by 2. Now, what do I need to do with that answer? I need to square root that answer. All right, I'm square rooting this 0.5. So yes, you can type it. You can type 0.5 in your calculator. However, if I get an answer like I do in like number 7, the minute that you start physically typing 2.9524 and you physically type that, it's the minute that your answer becomes less and less accurate. Because what the calculator recognizes 62 divided by 21 as is this big, long decimal, and it even recognizes the decimal that is beyond the decimal that they can fit on the screen. All right, so this decimal will run on forever, and the calculator recognizes that. It understands this entire decimal. Now, the moment that you just say, hey, this number is 2.9524, it negates the idea that 80952 blah, 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 blah ever existed. So the minute that you say that this is 2.9524 is the minute that your numbers become less accurate than what they actually are. So what would happen if I needed to do something to this number? What if I had to like square this number or, square root this number or something? I don't want to square root 2.9524 because, as I said, that answer would be less accurate. What I somehow want to do is have the calculator understand that I want to square root this entire decimal. So what you would do is you want to use the previous answer. I want to say, hey, I want to use this answer. So if you look down at the negative button at the bottom, there's that ANS. That's the answer. And what the calculator recognizes that as is the previous answer that you have in your calculator. Okay, so the previous answer was this, that's what it recognizes. So if I want to square root this answer, I would square root that answer. And that's what I would get. And so that's how I keep my numbers incredibly accurate. All right, back to number 8, where I have 1 over 2, and now I want to square root that answer. Okay. Now 0.5, you can easily type that. That's not a big deal, and you're not sacrificing accuracy, but you are absolutely going to run into a situation where you want to keep your answers as accurate as possible. Okay, kind of went off on a tangent there. Back to number 9. We have the sum of x the sum of y divided by x sub 5. So the x's, the fifth number of those x's is the number 5. 21 times 19. Divide by 5. And now number 10 isn't so hard. So the very first summation is the sum of x squared y the next one is the sum of xy the sum of xy, which is 62, squared divided by 5. Together, that is 1048.8. Okay, so what am I doing to 1048.8? Well, I'm first going to divide by 4. And then I am going to square root that. And again, so here's where I use my answer. Again, I'll run through number 10 real quick, so I know I was working kind of quickly. So what I'm doing is I'm finding the answer to this. I'm going to find the answer to this, square it, and divide by 5, and that will get me going. All right, so the first one is the sum of x squared y, so x squared y. Okay, I write that down. The next one, I have to take the sum of x, y. Try this again. There it is. So the sum of xy, I square that, then divide by 5. And so that is the sum of xy squared divided by 5. And I need to add that to that sum of x squared y, which is 280. So that is the complete numerator. I see the denominator is 5 minus 1. So that's the numerator divided by the denominator. So that's the top divided by the bottom. So that inside portion of the square root is 2062.2. And then I need to square root that because it's on the inside of the square root. And then that gets me to my 16.1926. And so that is that. All right, So that is a introduction to summations and how to use your calculator. So again, this all goes off of, you have to set up your lists, and that's under the stat. Okay, you do your actual calculations in the run mat screen, the run mat, the one option. And again, the sum is found under the catalog. So you go catalog. And then if it doesn't jump right to where you want it to be, you have to go to the letter T, and then you go up. Excuse me. You go up a couple. So I go to the catalog, I go to the letter T, and then I go up a couple, and that gets you to the word sum. Okay, so that will bring in the word sum, in blue, which is the same thing as sigma. Right? And then how you put in the x's and the y's that you created. X's are most likely under list 1, I'm assuming, and y's are oftentimes under list 2. And so you just literally use the word list 1 and list 2 wherever you see an x and a y. And that will get you whatever you need to get to. All right. So use your calculator, work on this sheet. I know you saw me do all this stuff, but again, I've been doing this for years. My advice is, see if you can do it. See if you can do it. Can you come up with the same answers? And if you are getting different answers, that's totally fine. You've identified what you kind of need to work on. So the calculator will make our lives way easier. All right, so this will make our lives way easier. So you can catalog T, up a couple, X, Y. Boom. There's the sum of X, Y. Way faster than what we've done before. Okay, so give it a try. We'll work on this a couple days, and then I will let you know what we're doing from there. So good luck.